Hello there, grumpy old fart here. Let me get something to drink right quick. Love a good cup of coffee, don't you? Um, this is a this is an instructive video. It's not actually a story. It's an instructive video. There's a lot of people out there who are trying to be dungeon masters their first time out, and I like advanced Dungeons and Dragons. That's the game that I play, and I hope a lot of people enjoy whatever variety of game you're playing of Dungeons and Dragons. You know, God bless you. If you enjoy it, have fun with it. Okay, a lot of people are getting into fifth edition. My son just got the books, so he's going to read up on them, and we'll play because he's an awesome dungeon master. I take pride in that because I'm the one that showed him how. The point I'm getting at is, I can't run through. I can barely run 3.5, but he's good at it. He's got the mind for it. Young minds, fresh ideas. At any rate, I talk about advanced Dungeons and Dragons because I still run that with my family. I'm going to be running some this afternoon and this evening with my wife and my son, and hopefully Monday night we'll get to start a whole new thing. At any rate, one of the biggest complaints that I've heard about the advanced Dungeons and Dragons system was the group initiative system. I started playing D&D back in 1976. Well, I started with Chainmail, and then we got to the Red Box edition, and then went to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is first edition. I started running games in 79, and then I went into the Air Force, and I came out and I still run games. While I was in the Air Force, I played with a guy named Art Schmidt, and I'm going to talk about him here in a little bit. But according to the books, the Dungeons and AD&D books, each side this is for initiative. Each side rolls a d6, and everyone on each side goes on that same initiative. So you got 3 or 4 players, and the monsters, bad guys, whatever over there. The one person, the party leader rolls over here, and the dungeon master rolls over there. And if the party goes first, whoever rolls higher gets to go first, and then they go like that. And that same initiative is kept through the entire combat. Most gamers found this primitive and too simplistic, and I completely agree. I couldn't figure out a better way to do it. Until I was in the Air Force, I played under one of the finest dungeon masters I have ever known. His name is Art Schmidt. This guy was the consummate gamer. He was smart. He was competent. He was fair. He had a great sense of humor. He played no favorites. Everybody was treated equally. I mean, this guy, if you want a dungeon master, find him. This is the guy to talk to. Okay? Art explained how he did initiatives. And it worked so well that I adopted the system, and I still use it today. I believe it is very similar to what second edition uses. My time in the Air Force far predated second edition, so we were using it before second edition came out. Excuse me. Essentially, in Dungeons and Dragons, there are 10 segments in each round. There are 10 rounds in each turn, but we're just talking combat rounds here. Every player rolls a d10. The dungeon master rolls for the monsters or the adversaries, whoever they are. But for the players, each player rolls a d10 for his or her initiative and adds their individual dexterity's reaction adjustment. So every person rolls a d10. If your dexterity reaction adjustment is a 3 plus 3, you get to roll a d10 and add 3. If it's a plus 1, you get to roll a d10 and add 1. It's different for every player, right? This is done each round of combat. So every player has a different initiative each round, and it's generally from 1 to 13, depending on your bonuses. And there's other things that can give you bonuses on initiative. Generally, if a party is surprised, they must endure 1 round of combat, where the bad guys get to shoot at them or whatever, before initiatives are rolled. But the same works against them as well. If the players ambush somebody else, if surprise somebody, they get a round of fire before the bad guys get to roll their initiative too. So it works both ways. Now this is the important part of this. The concept of the spellcaster is one of the most important parts of this. A spellcaster wishing to cast a spell will begin casting on his initiative. Each spell has a casting time in segments in the book, segments, turns, rounds, whatever. and the spell will go off on that segment after the casting time. So in other words, if a wizard begins casting Fireball on initiative 9, the spell goes off on 6s, because Fireball has a casting time of 3 segments. So he starts casting on 9, 8, 7, 6. It goes off on 6s. Okay? Hopefully, some stray arrow or other calamity won't befall this poor caster during his 3-segment casting time. If a wizard is hit while casting and fails a savings throw, and this works for clerics and everybody as well, every caster. If a wizard is hit while casting and fails a savings throw versus petrification, the spell fails and is lost for the day. So if he's casting the big bad world-ending spell that's going to clean your clock and end your character, and you smack him with your sword, he's got to make that savings throw, and if he fails, spell goes away. You don't have to deal with it no more. That's the problems of being a spellcaster. Spellcasters can be very, very powerful, and this helps to limit them somewhat. Player characters tied on the same initiative, and this works for the monsters too. Anybody who's tied on the same initiative rolls a d6 for the order that they go. The higher the better. And if they tie on that, they roll again. They keep rolling until they, The Dungeon Master has to roll initiatives similarly for his monsters, or the antagonists, whatever they are. The rule of thumb I use is that if a monster, and I'm going to do a video on this here shortly, if a monster is intelligent and has an organized military-style deployment, they get to all go on the same initiative. Why? Because they've trained together, they're disciplined, they know what each other's going to do, they can coordinate better. They have discipline and training. Otherwise, each monster acts on their own individual initiative, just like the player characters do. So you can have players going before monsters and then other players going after it and blah, 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 blah. It's all intermingled. But every round, everybody gets a different initiative. See, it keeps the game a little more interesting. And it does not take long before players who try this system will easily master it, and it won't be confusing at all. There's 2 ways you can do the casting of spells, by the way. When, like, for example, this wizard that we were talking about earlier, he starts casting on 9, his spell goes off on 6. Well, if there's players going on 6, I've heard 2 different ways to do this. That wizard has to roll a d6 with those players. I've also heard that a different way to do it, where the spells that are finished casting on that segment go off first. So either way of that is good. It's up to you however you want to do it. My contention is this method for rolling initiatives works really well. I highly recommend it. It works really, really well. It's fun. It's fast moving. When I'm doing combat as a game master, okay, initiatives, everybody. Okay, got them? Okay. All right, anybody better than a 12? 12s, 11s, 10s. Okay, you're on 10s. Do what you're going to do. 9s, 8s, 7s. On 7s, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. 6s. On 6s, my bad guy gets to go. He's going to go boom, boom. Okay, he's going to attack you. Boom, and I roll. Now, you see, it works pretty easily. It works pretty smoothly. Oh, you 2 are tied on 9s, d6s. Or the infamous, who's on 5s? Okay, you're tied with all the monsters, d6s. It gets to be roll-offs, and it's pretty good. It's fun. My contention is this system is much better than the one they use in the book. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is a wonderful game because in it you can tweak it however you want. There are no 2 people who play it the same way. This method of initiatives will make your game move a lot smoother and will be more interesting for your players. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all.